Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, is
amazing.
Thousands of copies have been sold across the United States and the world. You can pick up your copy today on Amazon.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to ed up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is your special guest host, Dr. Michelle Cantu-Wilson. I'm filling in today for the amazing, incredible, and world-famous Joe Salus Joe. I serve as the trustee for San Jacinto College in Southeast Houston, and I am also the owner of Vida Linda Consulting, a higher education leadership consulting firm that offers practical leadership training for the executive, the mid-level leader, the staff leader, and the student leader. And speaking of leaders, I'm so excited to be joined today by a renowned leader and my co-host for today, none other than the president of University of West Los Angeles, Robert Brown. President Brown, welcome to the show. I'm so sorry I don't have the bells and whistles that Joe often has, but can you please, with some enthusiasm, tell us about yourself before we introduce our special guest?
Wow. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's very gracious of you. I'm Robert Brown, president of the University of West Los Angeles. I've been the president there for 25 years.
Wow.
Yes, that's what I say too. It's been 25 years. We are a for-profit institution that I am the majority owner of. We were founded in 1966, and I took over in 1998, and I acquired the university in 2011. Wow. So I'm very happy to do that. We are an opportunity-driven institution. The reason that we are for-profit is because we do not receive any public funding whatsoever.
That's amazing.
But that also enables us to, go after our mission, to pursue our mission without the restraints, if you will, of sometimes what happens in the public sectors. We are an opportunity-driven school. We are an all-inclusive school. We have two disciplines, law and business. We have a law school that's been around for years. We produced hundreds of lawyers and judges in the Los Angeles area. We have a recently developed business school. We have students from all over the world. And I'm very proud. I'm a kid from South Central LA. And my mission is to provide the same opportunity to others that I was afforded, begrudgingly afforded, but nonetheless was able to undertake and achieve and to propel myself. I was a corporate lawyer for 15 years before I entered into academia. I've been an attorney for 45 years overall. I'm an arbitrator, real estate lawyer, and I do a number of other things, but I really enjoy my love and passion is bringing back to our communities the opportunity for people to change their lives, both from a social and economic standpoint of view. That's really important to me. That's what I was able to achieve. And that's why I am at the University of West Los Angeles. It is my passion and my love.
Well, I love hearing that. It shows in your voice. And I'm so glad, considering everything that you're doing in the world to save the world, that you have time for this little show. Thank you so much for being
This is really important to me.
co-host.
I happen to know our interviewee today.
I know you do. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce him because he is one of your own, and I'm sure you're very proud. Our guest today is the Vice President of Admissions, Recruitment, and Marketing for the University of West Los Angeles, Troy Brown. Welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you.
Our key question here, and we jump right into things here. We want to get into the conversation. We're going to skip the small talk, okay? So tell me, Troy, what do you do and how do you do it?
Great question. Again, Troy Brown, thank you for the introduction. My title is Vice President and Director of Recruitment, Enrollment, and Marketing, as you stated. So basically, I'm over the funnel, as we call it in higher education, the funnel, which is from initial sort of inquiry, where the student sees us and sees our face, all the way to them enrolling. And I actually really like to continue that and kind of be engaged in the student experience. I think that that's important.
I agree.
And so, especially as a for-profit institution, you know, we really try to be, you know, unfortunately with the stigma that we have sometimes, we try to be not transactional, but rather relationship oriented, right? And so it's important, you know, President Brown walks the halls, sees the students, and I try to do the same, not because of name or title, but rather just them knowing that somebody's there to talk to them and
Right.
to wish them well along the way. So my job is very vast. I enjoy it, and it's really just being one with the students and really growing the relationship that UWLA tries to instill from the jump and continuing it through to graduation.
Yeah, you mentioned that that there's a stigma with for-profits, but from what President Brown has said, and from what I've seen of you, I did look up your TED Talk and all about you, but from what I've seen of who you are as people, I think the work is exactly the same. It is exactly the same. So talk to me about the services that you offer at your institution that you see everywhere else in higher education. And you mentioned inclusivity specifically. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Again, let's talk about our programs, I guess. Right, our programs. We have the School of Law, which has been around since 1966, which we are extremely proud of.
Amazing.
And let me back up first and say this is, you mentioned it first. You mentioned the TED Talk. I wasn't going to mention it. I've done a lot of different interviews, but you know, this one's special for me. Not only to have my boss, but my father doing this with me is really great.
Well, I missed, wait, pause, hold, pause. I
Yeah.
really need Joe's special keyboard here. This is an amazing moment, and that's the button that Joe would push. Robert, you didn't mention that we were interviewing your son. Elvin, you didn't mention that I was interviewing a father and son. This has to be a podcast first. I'm so honored. This is an amazing story. So please continue.
Yeah. So it's fun for me. You know, it's a little nerve-wracking. I kind of got to watch what I say a little bit because my boss and my father, but you know, it's fun nonetheless. And so I just wanted just to get that, you know, say that's really special for me on this podcast. So thank you.
It is.
So again, we have the School of Law. It's been around since 1966. I mean, California bar accredited ever since. That's special. You know, that's a special place to be in. As well as our School of Business, which we added not too long ago. I think it was 2018. So, you know, for us, driving the ball forward within the community is important. You know, President Brown spoke about where he's from and his background a little bit, but I think we really cherish being in the community, and being a place where students often feel, you know, in different universities and places, they don't feel seen, and they don't feel heard. There's a population of students who don't do well in those places. We service that student that does do well in those places because they might want a more smaller community, and the student that doesn't do as well, and they feel like, hey, Troy and President Brown know me by name. Troy and President Brown walk the hallways. You know, that's really, that's like, I can't explain how important that is. It's funny that you talk about for-profit as well. We touched on it. I heard an interview, actually, it was just 2 days ago. I can't remember well, but a billionaire was looking for a place to go for his daughter. And you think he can go anywhere he wants, you know, the Harvards, Yales, etc. And he was looking for a for-profit institution for his daughter to go to college because he said that the for-profit institutions weren't just there by endowment or by state fund, but rather they cared about what they did.
Interesting.
And that hit me. And you know, so it really did for me as a person who's part of a for-profit. It turned the paradigm, which we think about it, and it said, hey, from a man who's a billionaire who obviously is smart and well knowledgeable, his view on it is different. I think that's the view when he said it. I was like, that's exactly what we strive to do. We strive to be here because we want to be here, and we believe in what we're doing. We're not here because the state funds us. We're not here because our endowment funds us. We're here because we want to be, and I think that shows throughout the institutions, from janitor to president. You know, it's not about the name on the back of the jersey, but it's the name on the front of the jersey, which is the University of West Los Angeles.
I love that. That's wonderful. And President Brown, do you have anything that you want to ask your key employee and also your pride and joy?
Well, yeah. Troy, talk a little bit about the relationship base. I mean, we touched on that and used that term. I have always professed, that we're relationship based rather than transactional based. Again, we find always in our academic community now, you have to defend being a for-profit. And I think that's part of how society has continued to oppress other people is because, they want the public schools not to have the competition. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the public schools. I certainly have no criticism of them. However, they're not for everybody. And unfortunately, the more conventional methods are not necessarily for everybody. There was an article in the, I think it was Wall Street Journal the other day about how 12 presidents of Harvard of the elite schools probably could change the world in terms of how they admit people. As we know, they recently banned affirmative action, but the real problem is not necessarily affirmative action. It's really all the other things that a lot of people get into Harvard, Yale, that give them, that really continue to perpetuate the privilege. There are those who get the privilege in our society, and they're not necessarily merit-based. People like to think just about grades. No, it's about activities, it's about legacy, it's about so many other different things.
Right.
I consider UWLA to be the antidote to that. I consider the UWLA to be a place where people from all walks of life, and I mean that, we have people from all over the world, every socioeconomic status. They come because I believe that we're relationship based. We're trying to provide a quality education. And by the way, let me mention that we are WASC accredited, which is one of the highest accreditations that you can get. We are WASC accredited, we're Cal Bar accredited. And our whole impetus is to provide opportunity. So with that all said, contextually, Troy, what do we mean when we say we're relationship oriented?
Sure, great question. Thank you. And from my perspective, it's multifaceted, right? Relationship can mean many things, and I think that UWLA does. So again, as I mentioned, I hate to just hop on it, President Brown's relationship with the students, right? That's one relationship. It's the relationship between how we have students in our community and prepare them for the outside world, right? We really want our students to come in and feel like they can walk away with something and they can contribute to some of that relationship is very important to us. And then, on a bigger scale, the relationships that the university builds with different places. So for instance, we have a relationship with the 99-cent store. We have a relationship with Bank of America, where we go and we have what's called lunch and learns, or, we go do informationals. And then students from these huge organizations see value in us. And we have a relationship where we can help the student continue their education. And those relationships are also important to us. So I think that from my perspective, sitting in the seat that I do, the relationship that UWA builds is on every corner that it touches. And so that isn't a sole perspective, but rather saying the University of West Los Angeles cares about all the relationships that it holds. And I think that's again what separates us. I think we really, and it's not because I work, I think we really do a really good job of making people, no matter what corner you're on, feel cared about. And it's not just about if you're a student or not. Let me also go back to that. We our dean, our teachers, our faculty, they're able to provide advice to students, any kind, whether you're a student or a prospective student or just a person interested in general, and they really do it out of the kindness of their heart. It's not because you're enrolled at UWLA, but rather that relationship saying, hey, you're a part of the UWLA family.
Right.
And how important that is.
And that is important. Because I have a background in, teaching in higher ed, I know that faculty have heavy loads. You've got to get through so much curriculum by the end of the semester, by the end of whatever part of term, if it's a 5-week class or a 10-week class or a 16-week class. So relationship building in the face of the standards that you have to meet as a law school that has to be a challenge. Like, how do you find those faculty that are able to do both the relationship building and the necessary and rigorous teaching that goes along with helping someone to achieve that degree and pass the bar? That's asking a lot.
Michelle, if I can just jump in real quick and
Absolutely.
really kind of at least start the answer, and I'll let Troy finish the answer. And this is really key. We know that the heart of the professors, the heart of any university is the professor-student interface. That's exactly what the heart of the situation is. And as a institution, like ours, we make certain that interface, with the emphasis being on the student. And, that it tilts a little bit towards what the student needs, but you also have to provide for the needs of the professor. So we know that within our environment, one of the key things that we add value on is that we try to recruit people like yourself who are also experienced outside of the academic environment, so that they can weave into the academic environment their experiences in that particular subject matter. So when you come to UWLA, the majority of our professors, and matter of fact, I think we have 40% of our 35 to 40% of our law school faculty are state court judges. They're judges. Wow. So yes. So you actually are sitting there with someone who 2 or 3 years from now, you may be actually appearing in front of.
Amazing.
Who have a passion for teaching. And they bring that into the academic environment. But now the other side of that is that we recognize that we've now got to provide supplementary pedagogical skills to that judge or to that attorney who's a subject matter expert. So we work hard to make sure that we support the professors first and foremost in terms of their pedagogical skills. How do you teach? How do they make the classroom environment exciting, providing that academic experience? On the other side of it is, we have students who, they, in many instances, need additional supplementary support as well. They're very intellectually bright, and that's what people don't get. You can be very intellectually bright, but lack some of the educational skills to really pursue higher education. So we now, in the smaller environment, we then add on support to the students, provide them with that support, to provide them with that nourishment. We don't handhold, everyone, but we provide them an environment and the skills and the access to help give them the best chances of being successful, as well as the fact that we have equipped all of our facilities with all the technology so that we can provide either online, hybrid, or on-campus experiences that I believe are equal to any that you're ever going to find. We've spent a lot of money on technology. Our classrooms, you can be sitting in a classroom in one of our campuses and physically sitting there interfacing with a professor, but some of your classmates be on the screen and they may be in other parts of the world.
Right.
So, so I apologize for kind of taking us off on that tangent.
It's okay.
But as you know, I'm very proud of what we do, but that's the heart of the experience. Troy, do you want to elaborate any further?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I don't think that oftentimes people are in the conversations, but President Brown really speaks to how important that heart of the student faculty interface is. And I think that he's done a great job of showing that by investing in, for instance, the technology that we have, by investing in making sure that the teachers, no matter whether they're first year teachers or 40th year teachers, because we do have 4-year teachers, have continued education, and how important that is in terms of the success of these students coming to and through UWLA. And then from my perspective, right, how important it is for my customer, right? Because from where I sit there, customer, to have this sort of president who backs that value of that education and puts everything behind it to show it. So I totally agree.
Oh yeah.
Join the movement to mobilize and revolutionize higher education by picking up your copy of Commencement, the Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education today. This book has been featured in Forbes NPR, Harvard Business Review, CEO World Magazine, NBC News, CBS News, and Business Insider, among many others. Don't miss out on what today's highest college leaders have to say about the future of higher education. Pick up your copy on Amazon.
Yeah, and that part of it, that pedagogical support is important for the faculty, like you mentioned. So you're speaking my language when you talk about helping our content experts to become people experts. I think that is, undersold in higher ed. And then the other part of it, of course, is the idea that you have students from all walks of life who need to engage in certain ways. And what we forget is that everyone needs to learn how to, and I'm doing air quotes now, how to college. How to college is a very specific skill set. And it sounds like you prepare your students with additional support mechanisms to get them prepared for the classroom and beyond. Let's talk about the industry, particular, like your two industries that you're covering, business and then law. What are the challenges that you see in the industries that are causing you to amend your approach or go above and beyond, like looking at the legal landscape? What are you seeing where you're saying, aha, this is a teachable moment, or we need to be prepared for this that's coming on the horizon, or on business, whatever you prefer to talk about, Troy?
It's interesting. That's a very good question, first and foremost. Very good question. And can I, again, to be very frank, I don't think we ever stop. It isn't where we all of a sudden take a moment and say, this is something that we need to use to perpetuate the university forward. I think we use every single moment, and we try to find really every new advancement that we can to push forward the university and the students that attend it. And I say that wholeheartedly. We again, because we don't have that endowment, because we are for profit, we're not looking. We're trying to stay ahead. We really are trying to stay on the cusp of what's new and what's great, and oftentimes pushing the line.
Right.
Again, I don't come from an academia background. That's not my background. So I'm always going to President Brown and say, hey, let's try something more, more customer focused, which is outside of the academia lane. And he might say, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a poor idea. But nonetheless, we have the ability to do these things, right? And so it isn't where we actually are more forward standing on our feet. We're not back on our heels. We're not waiting for a moment to come. We're always on our toes, looking at how we can keep ahead of the curve. I think again, I know that I work there, so I sound sort of biased, but we do a great job of pivoting. What we talk about is behind closed, being able to pivot and not having, being stuck in the old ways, but rather, for instance, pandemic. Pandemic was life-changing, world-changing.
Absolutely.
For us, it was world-changing, but it didn't take us that long to pivot. My admissions team was already on computers. Zoom was we already were using Zoom because President Brown has had us ahead of the curve. So really, we only just closed our doors. To be honest with you, we were already putting in the technology into the classrooms. We just sped it up a little, the timeline. We really do a great job of taking whatever is new and whatever is coming that can help our students and help our faculty be at the forefront of education, and really do push to make those things available to everyone. And again, like President Brown, like yourself, if our best teacher, professor, faculty member is in Houston for this class, we're going to go get that professor and we're going to have them teach an online course for our students, because we know that's what's best. And the relationship is going to be just like this. They don't know if you're in Houston or if you're in, Beverly Hills, but rather they feel, because of your care for the student, which all of our professors and faculty members have, that their relationship is going to be really one that's valuable.
Very good. Thank you so much. President Brown.
Yeah, I just want to amplify again and piggyback off of what Troy said. He said something really important. And going to your question, in academia, we're now faced with some really major challenges
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you in particular what they are. And let me just preface that by saying one of the key things at UWLA that we pride ourselves on is not treating everybody equally, but treating people equitably and making that distinction. Okay.
So
We don't treat
important.
everybody equally, we treat them equitably. We do what that person needs to have done. I have 4 kids, and I used to tell my kids, I'm not going to do for you something because your brother or sister got something done for them. I'm going to do it because you have to justify to me what you need. And I use that
Right.
same philosophy from an academic standpoint of view in terms of my leadership influence. And of course, I'm just one of a number of people who have influences over the institution. I'm not the sole influence. But that said, we are faced with some major challenges. Number one is now with the advent of the pandemic and how people got accustomed to, in many instances, over the last 3 years of doing things through Zoom and having that convenience, how do we lure people back to the campuses, especially with technology? How do we make certain that interface and is as supportive and as efficacious as it needs to be? The second thing that we have to now confront, and I actually had a colloquium with my faculty, again, and our deans, and I challenged them about artificial intelligence.
Interesting.
How whether you like AI or don't like it, and whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it, it's going to be a part of our lives for the future. And we would be remiss not to figure out the appropriate ways, the correct ways to incorporate it and to teach our students how to deal with it. People look at it from a fear-based standpoint of view of just the plagiarism aspect. But, the fact of the matter is for all of us in the future, just like calculators were, many years ago, when I was in business school, many, many years ago, they wouldn't let us use calculators, okay? But they realized everybody was going to do it. So now AI is going to be a part of our students' arsenal, if you will, of tools to deal with business. What's the proper way now to incorporate that into our curriculums and teach the professors and the students how to best utilize them? So there's a number of challenges facing our environment, our academic environment, to make our students, which should always be the key, what's in the best interest of the students, to prepare them to be successful. I like to say that I want our students to be able to utilize what they learned on Thursday and Friday in their job pursuits on Monday and Tuesday of the following week.
Very good. Right. And I love that analogy of the calculator, to AI, because how suspicious were people of a device that could do the math for you, right? How suspicious was the world of that little device? And now here we are facing it again on a different level. So I appreciate you bringing that up as a challenge. We're going to start to move into the last questions of the show. And Troy, I want you to think about something that's happening at UWLA that you're really excited about, something that you want to share, or something that we missed talking about that you want to make sure that our audience hears about your very unique and successful institution that has 2 programs, business and law, and very capable faculty operating at both levels. What are we missing here? And then roll into our last question, which is, what do you think is the future of higher ed?
Okay, so one of the things that I think that I'm really, really, really excited about, actually, President Brown and I chat all the time, and again, we spoke about relationships, right?
Right.
And so we know right now, one thing that I think makes us a little different is we go after the traditional student, straight out of college, community college, whatever it might be. But there's also that student that is the non-traditional student that has a family, has a child, maybe might go to work, whatever it might be. And so their road is a little different. And oftentimes that person needs a break, right? We all need a little bit of a break. And so we have the relationship with Bank of America, and we have a Bank of America scholarship. We have 99 Cent Store with 99 Cent Store scholarship. We have, for instance, the Regional Center, South Central Los Angeles Regional Center. And everybody has a scholarship, right? And
Right.
President Brown, again, being equitable, he's implemented a scholarship for any person who has a place of business that provides us a scholarship. Any business that you
Mhm.
work at that provides tuition reimbursement for students, we are going to work with. We're going to work
That's
with that student.
outstanding. That's
Yep. So
exciting.
it's extremely exciting. So it doesn't matter whether you're Bank of America, whether you're, whatever place that where you have the opportunity for your employer to say, hey, let me help you advance yourself. We want to help.
Mhm.
We want to be on the other end of that, close the gap, right? Close the
Right.
gap,
Right.
and meet that person where they need and want to be.
That's
And that's
exciting
really,
work.
it's really exciting. And actually, this is the first time we're talking about it, so thank you for giving me the platform. But
Yeah.
it's really, really exciting, and I think I really am looking forward to, again, being a part of the change movement,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so I'm really excited about that, in terms of how just to best make it work for everybody who wants to
Right.
continue their education, whether it be
Right.
law
It's
or
filling the
business.
gaps. Right.
Well,
And
it's closing the gap. It's
yeah,
closing the gap.
and actually, it's the astuteness to look at the landscape of businesses around you, and look at them in a different light, which is what it seems you've done. You've looked at them in a different light and thought, okay, now look in regard to our students, what is happening here that we can
Exactly.
capitalize on for the benefit of the student and ultimately the local economy. So that's outstanding
Yeah.
work. So tell me
Yeah.
about, just look into your crystal ball, as Dr. Joe would say, and tell me, what do you think is the future of higher education? No pressure.
You know, for me, I think the future of higher education, we're going through a lot. We're going through a lot in education.
Yes,
We're
sir.
going through a lot. The pandemic brought on a new future that we never thought, I think, we would have thought of.
Right.
Um, and then obviously whatever's happening with the government and the different rules, et cetera, that they put out there. But I think the future of higher
Mm-hmm.
education actually depends on the student change movement. The student change movement. I think
Oh.
that there's going to be some students who come out and who really push forward what's necessary for them
Mm.
within academia. And I think that that's going to be, so I don't necessarily think I have the crystal ball, but I think I can say that it's going to take, and there's going to be a group of students in the near future who are going to shake up what the what the landscape is, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's too far away actually. And I think that I really think that the big universities need to be prepared for that change, because I think that they're going to require something different. I don't think that the student of 30 years ago is going to require what the student of tomorrow wants. And so I'm
Wow.
actually excited to see it.
I have listened to this show a lot before I became a guest co-host or a guest, and I've never heard that answer. It's my favorite answer. It's my favorite answer
Thank you.
because the future does truly belong to the next generation. And I think you really articulated the idea and the enthusiasm around that infusion of motivation and inspiration coming from the most necessary stakeholder in higher education. Troy, outstanding answer. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate that.
That was wonderful. President Brown, any closing thoughts before I close us out for the day?
No, I think this has been wonderful. I just must add, I'm so proud of Troy. As you know, he had to overcome a very life-changing experience. As a father, it's probably the phone call you never want to get, and we kind of talked about it yesterday, because Troy's a new father. He has a month and a half old daughter. I'm so proud that my children wanted to get into the academic business, to use their credentials. Each of them, fortunately, are very well educated, and they 3 of them are lawyers, and one's a doctor. Troy didn't mention that he just finished law school not too long ago. He's going to be taking the bar in the
Congratulations.
not too distant future.
Congratulations.
So I'm
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
proud of the fact that my children. I think it's almost every parent's desire that they lay a path that their children voluntarily want to pursue. I've never
Sure.
required any of them to do anything, but they have aspired to be in our business because I think that, like myself, my story as a kid, I keep going back to, and it really is what drives me. I'm a kid from South Central LA. And I say that because I grew up off the streets. I had nothing and very humble beginnings. And it was only through education that I escaped the poverty and the other social ills that befall many of
Sure.
young people in these inner city communities.
Right.
And to be able to pave that path and then have your children want to pursue it and better their lives, and even more importantly, give to other people, to open the doors for so many other people. My biggest, I think one of the most gratifying things to me in life is when someone comes up to me and they say, you know what, President Brown, but for UWLA, I would not have been able to become a lawyer, or but for UWLA, I would not be the president of this company now, because you guys gave us that opportunity, and I was able to now achieve what I'm achieving as a CEO or COO of a major company, which we have examples of, or lawyers or judges, who have gone through our academic halls. When I hear that, to be quite frank with you, there's almost nothing that's more valuable to me in terms of, other than my family relationships. There's nothing more valuable to me to know that I played a small role in that particular achievement.
Absolutely. We are very lucky to be in this world of educating people and changing their lives. Thank you both so much. I just wanted to close by mentioning that we have danced around a subject of Troy Brown's TED Talk, and I hope that you'll listen to it as I have. It's an incredible story. The title is Troy Brown Overcoming Tragedy, and I think we can all learn a little bit about his resilience and his grit and his ability to turn life around. And now we're celebrating you and the birth of your daughter. Congratulations, Troy.
Thank you.
It's been an honor to talk to you, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
I'm going to close out our show now. The esteemed President Brown and his esteemed son, Troy Brown, from the University of West Los Angeles. Audience, friends, colleagues, you have just EdUp'd.
Attention.
Forbes called commencement the beginning of a new era in higher education, a dispensable touch point for what's being said in, about, and around higher education now. Don't miss the insights from 125 college and university presidents about what the future of higher education holds. Pick up your copy of Commencement on Amazon today.